We have maps for pretty much everything, right? A GPS to get us across town, charts for the stars. But what if you had a map for your soul? A way to pinpoint exactly where you are emotionally, and maybe more importantly, to see the road ahead to a better state of being? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. This incredible, ambitious idea of creating a literal map for the human soul.
I know, it sounds a little out there, doesn't it? Can you really map a human emotion? The idea that every single feeling we have, from the absolute depths of shame all the way up to enlightenment, could have a specific place on a chart? Well, that is the big, bold idea we're going to unpack right now.
And here it is. This is the map of consciousness, developed by Dr. David R. Hawkins. What you're looking at is a chart of human emotions on a scale from 0 to 1,000. The idea here is that every level has its own energy, its own core emotion, and a totally unique way of seeing the world. So for the next few minutes, this map is going to be our guide. All right, so let's start our journey at the very bottom, in what the map calls the realm of survival. As you can probably guess, these are the states of consciousness that are defined by some pretty tough negative emotions.
So, at the absolute lowest frequency, we're talking just 20 on the scale, we find shame. From here, your view of life is just miserable. A tiny step up from that is guilt, where the world feels like an evil place. And then, at a frequency of 50, we hit apathy. That's a state of total despair where life feels completely hopeless. Moving up just a little bit, we run into grief, where life feels tragic, and then fear, where the world is just a frightening place. Now, this next one is interesting, desire. You think desire would be a good thing, right? A motivator? But on this map, it actually represents this state of constant craving and addiction, which, because our wants are endless, ultimately makes life feel disappointing. Then we get to anger, which clocks in at a frequency of 150. Now, anger can definitely be a catalyst for change, but its energy is really rooted in hate and seeing life as a battle. Just above this is pride, which is the last stop before a huge shift, but it's still pretty fragile because it depends entirely on what's happening on the outside. Okay, now we've arrived at the most important turning point on this entire map. This is the pivot. It's the line in the sand between all that destructive energy and a new, life-affirming energy. And it's all about the power of courage. 200. Remember this number because it changes everything. This is the energetic frequency for courage. According to Hawkins, this is the critical point that separates what he calls force from power. Think of it this way. Everything below 200 takes energy from you, but everything at 200 and above actually gives you energy. This is the very first level where we start to give back to the world. It's a state of affirmation. Life isn't so scary or hopeless anymore. For the first time on our climb up this map, life is seen as feasible, as possible, as something you can actually handle. And this just shows you the shift perfectly. I mean, look at the difference in perspective. You go from seeing life as frightening and miserable to seeing it as feasible and satisfactory. That is not a small step, my friends. It's a quantum leap in how you see and deal with the world. So now that we've crossed that critical line, the journey becomes this upward climb into empowerment. It's a completely different way of experiencing reality. Let's see how things build as we go higher. Right above courage, you find neutrality, this state of trust where life feels satisfactory. After that comes willingness, where we're full of optimism and life looks hopeful. And then comes another huge step, acceptance. Here, the key emotion is forgiveness, and our whole view of life becomes harmonious. And the climb continues. At 400, we hit reason. This is the level of science, of intellect, where understanding makes life feel meaningful. But the map suggests there's something beyond just logic, and that's love at 500. And we're not just talking about romantic love. This is a deep, unconditional reverence for all of life. And from that state of love, you naturally find joy, a deep serenity where life just feels complete. And at an energy frequency of 600, we arrive at peace. The emotion here is pure bliss. And from this high up, the way you see life completely transforms. The world is simply perfect. And finally, we've made it. We're at the very top of the map. From 700 all the way to 1,000 is the state we call enlightenment. This is the level of the great spiritual teachers throughout all of human history. So what's the feeling you have in this ultimate state?
Well, it's described with just one word: ineffable. As you can see, that means it's a state so profound, so incredible, that it's literally beyond words. You can't describe it. It's considered pure consciousness itself. So, okay, what is the point of all this? This map isn't meant to be some kind of rigid judgment of where you are. Not at all. It's really a tool for self-awareness, for understanding the emotional landscape that we're all navigating every single day. So let's just pull it all together. This map shows us a journey. It tells us that we aren't stuck in any one emotional state. We're always moving around. The most crucial thing to remember is the power of courage at level 200. That's the bridge from a life of just reacting to a life of true intention. At the end of the day, this map offers us a guide for our own potential. It shows a possible path from survival all the way to enlightenment. And that really brings us to the final thought. This map isn't about judging where you are, but about seeing the next step. So I'll just leave you with this question to think on. Looking at this map of the human soul, what does just one level up look like for you?